So since we are celebrating honey today, I wanted to make honey the star of the recipe that I am cooking. So I am making my honey miso cod today. It's really tasty, I know. Feels a little fancy, but it is a sheet pan dinner. So it's a one pan dinner, which is a total delight. And fun fact, there's a producer here on The Good Stuff. Her name is Charlotte. She's been asking for this recipe all year. And every time I've been like, oh, it's not the right day, it's not the right day. Today's the day, Char. This one's for you. All right, so I am gonna get to work first on the kind of glaze that goes over, because this is a really, really simple recipe. It's gonna wow your guests, but be so easy for you, which is a delight. So the first thing we need to start with is obviously that honey. So I am using about 3 tablespoons of honey here. Now, as opposed to using that beautiful Hiwa honey that we collected earlier, I've got that at home. That is delicious for just eating, drizzling on your bagel with maybe some goat's cheese or something in the morning. I am using just a grocery store honey, because honestly, once you cook it, it takes some of those kind of nutrients out of it. So any sort of honey you got hanging around is perfect. Just about 3 tablespoons of that goes into a bowl. This is the hardest part of the recipe, is getting the honey out of the guy. All right. Now into there, I'm gonna add in miso paste. Now miso paste, you can usually find it in the grocery store, kind of weirdly near the yogurt oftentimes. Sometimes it's near the tofu, sometimes it's near the yogurt. That's kind of the section, but we want about 3 tablespoons of that. Now you can use white miso paste, you can use red miso paste, whatever one you've got, but this stuff, just a heads up, really nice and salty. Just keep it stored in your fridge. It's absolutely delicious, both for sweet and savory applications. Obviously, we're mixing that up here. We've got that salty, kind of savory miso with that sweet, delicious honey going into this bowl. So just add that right on in. And then into there, I wanna add in a little bit of something that's got like good kind of saucy umami-ness. And for that, we obviously wanna use some soy sauce. So 3 tablespoons of soy sauce here, absolute delight. Now, miso is salty already, so is soy sauce. So I'm actually not gonna add any extra salt into this glaze or this recipe at all, which is rare for me. If you've watched the show, you know she likes her salt. It's a delicious thing. But this is like flavor salt. Basically soy sauce, super salty, miso, really nice and salty, really, really tasty. So far we've got 3 tablespoons of each ingredient. Now we're gonna switch it lower gear and do 1 tablespoon of some rice wine vinegar. That's gonna bring a little bit of brightness and acidity. If you don't have rice wine vinegar, you could do apple cider vinegar, you could do even like a white wine vinegar, or you could even just use lemon juice. That would be delicious as well. Just about a tablespoon of that goes right on in. Then I'm gonna go in with about a tablespoon of oil. Now I'm using a neutral oil here, just canola oil. Any sort of neutral oil works really well because it's not gonna add any flavor, but it's just gonna allow those flavors to get to know each other and kind of spread over top of everything. All right, that is looking beautiful, but now I wanna add in something kind of peppery, something kind of bright, and for that I want some ginger. Now, does anybody know where I keep my ginger? Freezer, there you go, there we go. We got a couple, we got them. So I'm gonna go to the freezer. Anytime I buy ginger, pop it in the freezer as soon as I get it home. Not only does it make this last pretty much forever, but it makes it super easy to add to any recipe I need it for, because it's frozen solid, which sounds like it's gonna be really hard to add. But what I do is I grab my rasp or my microplane, and you just wanna pass that right over those tines. You can even use the fine side of a cheese grater, or even that weird side of the cheese grater that you don't know what it's for. Ginger would be perfect on there. You want about a tablespoon of that finely grated right into the mix. If you were using fresh ginger, obviously you could chop it up. But the thing I love about using frozen ginger is those kind of like fibers that run throughout ginger get frozen, so they actually cut a lot easier. You don't end up grating it where you get those like weird kind of fiberiness, like mucking up the grater so you can't get anything through. This already smells so good. I'm very excited. And this glaze is really, really good. It's great on chicken, it's great on salmon, it's really good on tofu if that's what you're feeling, really great on vegetables as well. But I do want a little bit of garlic in here just to bring that savoriness. So you want about a clove or 2 of garlic, whatever you're feeling. Again, use your rasp and just pop it right on in. I hate chopping garlic, fun fact about me, least favorite task in the kitchen. So if I can just basically grate it into anything, that's what I'm gonna do. All right, give that a whisk. Now, for some actual spiciness or a little bit of spiciness, I'm gonna go in with some pepper, but if you wanted to, you could do chili flakes. That would be absolutely beautiful. But just a bit of pepper. Again, no salt, because everything in here is already nice and salty. And if I'm saying that, you know it's salty. All right, that is looking perfect. Now for the fish, I am using cod. I love cod. It's really, really tasty, usually on the more affordable side, but you could switch it out. You could do haddock, you could do halibut if you're feeling fancy, salmon if you've got it hanging around, whatever you'd like. But you want to use about 200 grams per portion. So I'm doing 4 portions here, so I got about 800 grams here. And I actually buy cod steaks or cod loin. That's the thicker bit of cod, so you're not getting the tail, you're not getting that thin bit. I'm just gonna pop it onto a sheet pan that is lined with a little bit of parchment paper. This stuff, once it melts down with that honey in there, gets a little bit sticky. So that parchment is gonna help clean things up absolutely beautifully. All right, now I'm gonna grab this beautiful glaze and I'm just gonna spoon and pour that right over that fish. That's gonna just glaze down as it bakes. It's gonna kind of caramelize. If you were doing this on chicken, the longer this sits in the oven, the more caramelized it gets. It might start looking burnt, but boy, it will taste delicious. All right, that's looking wonderful. Now, I've got a little bit of this glaze left over. I'm actually gonna use that to toss my vegetables in and also top more on that fish. So we're gonna get those flavors onto some delicious veg. Now you could do this with broccoli, you could do it with bok choy, you could do it with just any sort of cabbage or kale, but I'm going in with some green beans. I've got about 2 handfuls of classic green beans here that I've just trimmed the ends off of. Add those on into the bowl and just give those a little bit of a toss. Grab your, where am I doing? There they are. I thought I ran out of tongs. Don't worry, always a second pair of tongs hanging around. Give those a toss just to coat, and that's gonna bake down and get nice and sticky on those green beans. This is a good way to use up any of those vegetables that are kind of looking a little sad in your crisper. I don't know why it's called a crisper, because everything in there kind of goes mushy. Add those right onto that sheet pan, just on one side, just to give the fish a little bit of room to do its thing. Pop those right on. Then you wanna roast this in a hot oven. A good 400-degree oven is perfect for this. That's gonna give you a bit of caramelization on the fish. It's gonna cook those green beans down. That's only gonna take about 12 to 15 minutes until that's flaky. Those green beans are crispy and tender. Basically, it's a sheet pan meal, which is an absolute delight. But I like a little bit of a garnish on top. So yes, it's a 1-pan meal, but we're gonna dirty up 1 more pan for the garnish. Don't quote me on it, it's all good. So I have got a pan here, just a non-stick skillet, sitting over about medium heat. Now I'm gonna do some delicious kind of honey glazed almonds for the top of this dish. I don't know about you, but like anytime I think green beans, I also think almonds, and I feel like I have the 80s to thank for that, so thank you very much, because it's delicious together. So I have got some almonds here, just some classic, like roasted almonds you get at the grocery store. These are unsalted. If you have salted, those work as well. I'm gonna add those right on into my pan. That's about a 1/2 cup of almonds. And I just wanna give those a little bit of a toast. Anytime you have nuts and you bring them home, a little bit of heat really goes a long way, giving them really nice flavor. Essentially, as soon as they start to smell toasty, they're toasted. So those only need maybe a minute, maybe 2, until they start getting a little golden and toasty smelling. But now we're gonna add in some things to give this a little bit of a candy situation. So onto those almonds, I'm gonna add in the star ingredient, honey. You simply must on today. So about a tablespoon of honey is absolutely perfect. Just drizzle that right on over top, and you can hear that honey hit the heat of the pan. Now, one thing, my mom loves candy and nuts, perfect for salad, perfect for putting on anything. But in addition to that honey, I'm also gonna add on a little bit of sugar. Now, obviously honey is sweet, but the sugar is gonna help the caramelization. It's gonna help make it a little bit more crispy. So I'm gonna add on about 2 teaspoons of sugar, less the stuff I put on my hand, okay? Add that right on in, and that's just gonna help kind of caramelize and crisp up that sugar situation. Give that a stir now, because now it's gonna start cooking quickly. That little bit of honey is gonna coat those almonds. At this point, if you wanted to make this more of a snack or give it a little bit more flavor, a little bit of cumin in here, a little bit of smoked paprika, some cayenne pepper, even some 5 spice would be absolutely delish. But basically you wanna stir it just for about a minute until that honey goes from kind of liquidy to a little bit more tacky. So less sticky, more tacky. This is looking absolutely beautiful. So I'm gonna turn that heat off, and I wanna take these almonds and immediately pop them onto a parchment-lined sheet pan. Now, if you don't have parchment, a little bit of nonstick cooking spray on like a piece of aluminum foil is perfect. Now, I'm gonna season those up immediately while they're still hot with a little bit of salt. This is where the salt comes in. just to give them that nice salty sweet combination. Set those aside for about 10 minutes just to firm up, and then you're gonna end up with something that looks like this. We chopped ours up right here, but these are like crispy, they're a little sticky, a little bit salty. Oh my gosh, that on anything, what a delight. Now I'm gonna grab that fish and those green beans out of the oven. This has been roasting for about 15 minutes, and we have got that cod looking absolutely beautiful. All that glaze is cooked down. My green beans are still a little bit crispy, but more on the tender side. If you like them even crunchier than this, feel free to add the green beans about halfway through cooking. That way they'll keep that crispiness, but to be honest, I'm not mad at this. I'm feeling good about it. All right, so now to serve this up, grab some of those delicious glazed green beans, pop those right onto your plate. I like to go kind of in the middle. Then get a piece of that delicious cod with that beautiful glaze on top. Pop it right on there. And then, of course, for a little bit of texture and crunch, some of those beautiful honey almonds right over top. This, to be honest, is a total dream. Just to give everyone a hint that you're gonna be eating honey, you pop your little bear next to it and everybody knows what's going on. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.